G'day, I'm Mark Berg, and on this episode of The Next Level, we follow Vicky Winter-Lear into the Goondiwindi area of South Queensland. Vicky is a professional angler on the pro circuit and both inspiration and pioneer for female fishers around Australia. This episode, Vicky shares some of her favourite techniques used to chase the elusive Murray cod.
Fishing started with me, with my dad. Fantastic times up on the Maclean River. We'd go there every year for holidays, and he couldn't fish. We'd use bait and hand lines, and I was really jealous that my brother got a fishing rod for Christmas, and my brother hated fishing. He would lay at the bottom of the boat just whinging when we're going back in, and I'd be out with Dad still trying to catch fish. So that really irked me. So then we only fished on holidays. Dad wouldn't fish any other time of the year. So I went through life without much of it in my life, just looking forward to that family holiday. And then I met my husband, Scott, when I was 19. So Scott was a fishing fanatic. If I didn't like fishing, I wasn't going to be his girlfriend. So he would make me wait, and I'd pester him to take me fishing, because I said, I love fishing, and I'd pester and pester. And he waited till the frigate mackerel turned up off Wollongong, and he took me down to the breakwater. I hadn't used a rod and reel before, so he cast it out for me, and then he told me how to retrieve it. And as I was retrieving, I hooked a kingfish. And I didn't land it, but that adrenaline, and I've never used a lure in my life, so being introduced to lures and then hooking this fish that I lost really resonated something in me. And my father-in-law always blames Scott. He goes, "You've created a monster." But it was just how I got introduced into lure fishing, rods and reels, and yeah, I just don't look back. My cod journey started back in the late 90s, probably 95-ish or so. We used to fish sports fishing with Answer, and we got introduced to Burrinjuck Dam, had a few of the old guys take us out fishing and learnt about cod. We actually got to see a big cod nest there once, and that was absolutely amazing. It probably wasn't a lot of trolling back then. It probably wasn't until I did a trip to Weipa and did some barramundi fishing, and that casting at snags and everything else just really took over. And how am I going to apply that down south? So for me, cod fishing was the natural thing. It's barramundi fishing down south, and the passion kicked in, and the drive, and just the fresh water, just became a freshwater addict. Oh, wow. This fish, or just no action on the surface, or one little action on the surface this morning, changed to a swim bait. Oh, it's just come and whacked it out from that snag. Oh, how spectacular are they? Oh, yeah. Think he's going to muck up soon. Yep. Oh.
Ah, yeah, what a fish. Look at that thing.
Thank you.
Oh, well done.
I love the fresh water. I'm from down the coast, so basically we're on the salt water. So we've got tide, wind, swell, chop, everything else like that. So just getting back onto that fresh water where you've got no tide influence, no swell, it's just so peaceful and so relaxing, and it's just beautiful. I love being in those surrounds. I've fished areas, Burrinjuck's my primary area I fish because it's only 3 hours from home. But going back to rivers, we've done Lake Moala and we've fished Bathurst on the Macquarie River, and up here at Tenterfield, yeah, absolutely just glorious. And all of these areas, very similar in nature. It's just, yeah, absolutely great.
Edwin there, Glen Lion Dam Tourist Park.
What is it about? What is it about the cod and fishing from in this area that you love so much?
They're sneaky, they're lazy, and they're aggressive. Yeah. The lazy part is that if there's a rapid going down the river, he'll be sitting below it because he knows he's going to get a feed there. It's just like Meals on Wheels. The water comes down, it goes round in a circle. And he's just sitting there waiting. So if you can let your lure go down, back troll it into the hole, 9 times out of 10 you'll get a whack. And if he's not there, you just move on down. Usually when we're fishing this sort of area, we'd probably do around about 8 or 10 casts at a spot and move on. But also being sneaky, when he's in the middle of the river alongside a log, early in the morning, he's on one side of it, his body is in underneath the log in the shadow, his head just out on the side. And I showed a fella called Brian Powers what happened. I flicked out and picked him up in the morning, came back that afternoon, flicked out on the other side and got him again. He just moved either side. Now, if you're a little bird and you come and land on that log and have a drink, you're gone. And that's the sort of thing they are. Anything that goes across the water, mice, birds, whatever's in there, they'll nail. Yeah. Water dragons, the whole thing. Even the snakes going across, they'll have a go at them.
Cod-like structure. So for me, it's just looking at where that structure is going to be and where a cod's likely going to sit. So if you've got a bit of flow to a river, usually they're facing into that flow, and you want to be casting to the softer water where that flow is going to stop, and that cod will come out and belt that lure. So things like lay down logs, fishing shady sides of the bank rather than into direct sun, fishing willows, overhung willows, the cod absolutely love. So areas like that is what I'm looking for. They're a lazy fish and they're an ambush predator, so basically cod aren't going to sit in that full flow water to try and catch their feed. They want to sit back in that back eddy where it's not flowing so hard and just waiting, and they're opportunists, waiting for that feed to flow past them. So cod fishing, there is tons of lures on the market. They all can pretty much work. I think you've got to cast that lure in that right spot, and if you do that, you'll get the bite. They can take anything from a small diver up to 120 millimetre lure. You can use surface, you can use deep diving, swim baits these days, fly, they all work. So it's just a matter of preference on what style that you like to fish, whether you want to troll, whether you want to lure cast, things like that. So it all is up to preference of what kind of fishing you prefer. For me, you can't beat the surface take. Surface fishing is just great. And usually in low light levels, I like to surface fish. So early mornings, late afternoons is where I'd prefer to surface fish. Not saying you're not going to catch them in the middle of the day, but it's just your prime time. It's when the bugs hit the water, it's when things start to happen on the top of the water. I also like to probably change over to a crankbait towards the middle of the day. The fish tend to be sitting a bit deeper because, you know, the light's up and everything else. So I tend to like to cast that crankbait in around the structure and things like that. So.
When we started our business here 30 years ago, we started started up a fish stocking group, and from that, my love of cod. Brian was already into it, well into it. He grew up with cod, and his family were well known down in the Leeton area. It's amazing how cod fishing has actually taken off in the last few years. Publicity has a lot to do with it, no doubt, but the range of lures that are available are just, you know, it's mind-blowing how many lure makers are out there doing this. We sell lures here, but I stay in touch with the lure makers to see what's available, and there's just a wide range. Jointed, surface, wake baits.
You collect them?
Deep diving, yes, I do collect them.
How many have you got?
Fair few.
Come on, how many you got?
Plus 10,000.
Seriously?
Oh, yes.
It's more than that.
Probably is.
Come on.
I got into it about 10 years ago. I think everyone is a collector. We start from kids and collect stamps and then it just goes from there. Brian is a user. I say user and abuser of lures, but because he doesn't treat them nicely. But I just collect them.
Can I just say that if you're not casting into that gnarly country, you're too afraid, you're not going to get the fish. Those fish are sitting back in under those snags, and you need to be able to cast right back into it and not be afraid to get snagged. So if you get snagged, you're in the right place. So the equipment that I use is a Tartula from Daiwa. It's just my preference. I like a bait caster. You can catch them on spin as well, but for me, you just get that accuracy in casting. You can stop it where it needs to stop. 6'6" is great size. It just allows you to get those easy casting, and particularly if you're in tight country. With that, I usually put 20 to 30 pound braid on. And again, just don't go light on your leaders. If you hook that big cod, you want to know that that's abrasive against their teeth because they're quite raspy. So basically a 20 to 30 pound leader. Sometimes you can go higher depending on if you know you're in big cod country as well. So don't be afraid to do that. Tiny. Beautiful though. And he's swapped that lure right down his now. Oh, it's so in there. Unbelievable. Look at that. You see it? It's in. Yep. Yep. Oh, wow. Never get sick of catching these, no matter how big. That's awesome. You can walk the bank, not saying it's not accessible, but canoe is going to get you to more accessible water. So you basically can get to places that you can't normally reach from the bank. And the beauty of that is you're just at that water level. So when that surface take comes, it's just like you see everything in front of your eyes, you feel it, it feels like you're at one with the water and the fish. And yeah, it's amazing, absolutely amazing. And just to float and glide down the river is just a special place. You could just, if you don't want to fish for 5 minutes, you can just sit back and take it all in. And yeah, it's just absolutely beautiful. It's Australia at its best. Oh wow, you should have just felt that hit when he hit that lure. Just using a deep diver off this bank and felt a tap and then he come back and hit it again. Sure. Yeah, he's beautiful. Look at that white tail. He's still got some go in him. Thanks, buddy. Wow. Wasn't getting away either. Two hooks. Buddy, it's time for you to go. Get a bit bigger and I'll catch you later. Don't cast at a snag just once. These cod may look at it, and ah about it, shall I eat it? So my idea is to cast it in probably 5 times or so. If nothing's hit, then move on to the next snag. It's also worth it if you've got 2 people fishing, perhaps one person fishing surface and the other, you know, fishing a crankbait or something, a spinner bait, whatever you like, so that it's getting 2 different presentations, because it might be a little bit deeper or it might not be enticed to a surface bite for some reason or another. So once you cast into a snag and you're using a surface lure, it's contentious on what to do, because some people have different methods of using them, and obviously depends what your surface lure does. So some people like to pause and bloop it out really slowly, and others like, depending on what kind of surface lure it is, if it's got all the mod cons on it, like metal bits and things like that, and it doesn't look so natural, you might want to basically walk it out very fast. It's a good idea to hold your rod up a bit just to get it to skim across the top of the surface rather than dunking down into it a little bit and dragging the water. So
I've got one where I laid on the rock and just a little handheld camera, and he came out and he looked at me, and I'm about, oh, probably from me to you, he's in the water, and he's looked up at me and he's opened his mouth up to frighten me, and he's back into the rock, come back out the second time, come back out the third time, the fourth time he thinks, oh, he's not going to hurt me. He comes out and he turns around and goes back in. 94 centimetres of cod. Absolutely great.
We would love that footage.
Yeah, I'll give you that. I'll give you that. Yeah.
After a couple of days on the canoes and a few fish under our belt, we decided to head out onto Glen Lion Dam. The clear night skies out west guarantee very cold mornings, and with that comes very heavy fog. So we head out on the water nice and early in the hope that we could knock over a monster cod. But as with cod fishing, it's never as easy as you hope.
So for women that want to get into fishing, I've got a couple of tips for them. Firstly, perhaps go down to your local tackle store. If you've got access to fish in areas that you're at home, then your tackle store is a great opportunity to go down and talk to the guys down there, women or men I should say in these days, and basically get some advice on how you should fish, what you should fish for, and give it a go. Secondly, a lot of fishing clubs have buddy systems. They're a great resource as well. They're usually members that have fished the area for a lot of years. And with those buddy systems and networks, you can, find other people to go fishing with if you choose. You can still fish on your own, but you're getting advice and you've got that network if you need it. Thirdly, it can be time between fish, particularly when you're learning. Even for me, starting a new journey in a different part of fishing, it's a lot of time between fish, but I haven't given up and I'm starting to see results now. So don't give up and keep trying.
Murray cod is a fish that gets into your head. I'm not sure if it's the fish itself or the country that it inhabits, but whatever it may be, once you hook one, the addiction sets in. Somehow, I get the feeling that the hooks are well and truly set when it comes to Vicky's pursuit of Murray cod.